Let me go across to my guest who's joining me this evening. Dr. Anas Alhajji is an author. He's also an energy market expert. He's joining us to help us understand what we are seeing on our screens and why it matters to all of us. Dr. Anas, thank you very much for your time here on Times Now. We've all seen this footage that has come to us from Iran on loop now. It is not just this oil depot that has been targeted. There have been multiple oil depots that have been targeted, not just in Iran, but across the Gulf. Can you help us understand what this means for the rest of the world?
Yes. What you are seeing right now in Iran is exactly the tactic that's been used in World War II, when the Allies basically been hitting all the oil shipments and all the depots of Germany and Japan. And there are too many videos for people who want to see. It's exactly the same thing. And here we have to remember that we are talking about flammable materials here. So any depot that is on fire, you will get something like this. Just the pictures out of Tehran were more dramatic because the depots were very large on one side. You have the mountain behind it and the city in front of it. So the drama basically from a cinematic point of view was really kind of what you described earlier. So these are very common, and that's why terrorist group, militias, etc., resort to hitting those targets, because they give them the big bang that they want. So if you end up with a situation where they can hit a depot and people see the fire 300-400 feet and the smoke 300 or 400 feet in the air, anyone can take pictures, put it on social media, and that's what the other side basically want to show the world. But these are mostly for civilian use near the cities, and this is going to affect the civilian use of it. Okay. The military and the IRGC, they have their own depots and they have their own things. The oil fields basically and the real war is really near the Gulf, not the population center. The population centers are in the north.
Can you help me understand this one report, media report that is coming from the United States of America? You're saying the pictures that we are seeing essentially are psyops in one way. The other side, which is the American and the Israeli side, actually wants, you know, a big bang sort of headline, which they have got with this visual. And you're absolutely correct there. But is this what the other side wants? Because there are reports now in the American media that seem to suggest that Donald Trump is not very happy with Netanyahu striking oil depots in Iran. Do you believe that report at all? Because it seems
yes,
the United... go ahead, please, sir.
Yes, I believe it, because during the 12-day war in June, there was a public warning from Trump to Netanyahu not to attack the oil facilities, especially the export facilities and the oil fields. So I believe it because it's true. What Trump wants, he wants to do just like Venezuela, that control that oil and sell it, and therefore he look at it as a loss. And that's part of the reason. But I would like to emphasize the point that the benefits to the Trump administration and to the United States from closing the Hormuz Strait are beyond imagination. So we do have major benefits to the United States. Yes, there are negative unintended consequences, but the benefits to the United States, even in the long run, are beyond imagination, because people are fixated with the idea about the Hormuz Strait, oil and gas, but it's way more than that. For example, 35% of the helium trade comes out of that. Not a single computer chip can be made without helium. And those ships are made in Asia. And what does Trump want? He wants to bring that industry to the United States. You look at fertilizers, for example, 33% of the world fertilizer trade comes through the Gulf. What Trump wants from Asian countries, he wants to sell more American agricultural products to those countries. You look at methanol, which is used widely in several industries that kill the Asian industries. You look at NGLs. This is going to affect even the EV industry in China and India. So the benefit to the United States are just beyond imagination from closing the Hormuz Strait. And the Hormuz Strait was not closed by Iranians. The Hormuz Strait was closed by the British insurance companies. And why did they cancel the insurance, all the insurance policies of the ships? Notice this. We have airlines and we have ships. Why they did not focus on the insurance of the airlines in the region and they focus on ships? because the rockets are flying in the sky, yet we still have flights out of Qatar and Dubai and other places while we have the Hormuz Strait closed. So there is a big question mark here.
Do you have a theory on that, sir?
Yes, I do. In fact, the insurance companies, when they canceled the policies, they did not cancel the policies because of events in the Gulf. They did not cancel the policies because of events in the Hormuz Strait. Notice the following: until this Saturday, just this past Saturday, there was not a single event, not a single attack on any ship in the Hormuz Strait. All the attacks happened far away, either in the Gulf of Oman or inside the Gulf.
Correct.
Not in the Hormuz Strait. Until Saturday, basically, we have one single attack and all of that. But the insurance companies basically canceled the policies after the U.S. submarine hit an Iranian ship near Sri Lanka. That's why, and the reason why, because they extended the risk all the way from the Gulf to Sri Lanka.
True.
And therefore they cannot afford to cover that risk, and therefore they decided to cancel the policies. So if it wasn't that, if we did not have that attack in Sri Lanka, we did not. So either you look at it as there was a cause and effect, or unintended consequence, or there is some sort of conspiracy. You can take any one of those. Okay.
Dr. Anas, give me one moment here, because we are hearing from Indian government sources as well, and I want to get your view in on that as well. Indian government sources now saying that all refineries have been ordered to maximize their LPG production. Remember, LPG gas prices have risen in India by 60 rupees. Domestic consumers, according to the government, will be prioritized over commercial use. Pump prices, which means petrol pump prices in India, are unlikely to increase in the foreseeable future. The government source is also saying that India is better placed than many other countries as far as oil reserves are concerned. Dr. Anas, Donald Trump, we've heard from Donald Trump. We are seeing these pictures, coming in from Iran of oil depots burning. And when he was asked about all these strikes, not just in Iran, but in other Gulf countries as well, on oil refineries, he said this is way too small a price to pay. I want to ask you whether it is ultimately the world that will end up paying the price for America's war. They benefit, but the rest of the world doesn't.
I studied every single statement being made by Donald Trump on oil and the energy industry since the early 90s. So every interview, every publication, every book he wrote, everything. This is the first time in his adult history he is not concerned about high oil prices. For the first time ever. And that raises another question: what is going on? But the unintended consequences basically are many at the same time. So there are major benefits. But if you look at the winners and losers, the biggest winners out of this are Trump and Putin.
Is it true that the Russians actually have a shadow fleet that is operating in the dark of the night?
Absolutely, absolutely. And basically Putin is playing a game right now where this is Putin's moment basically to avenge everything, whether Europe or even in India, when the government basically and the companies try to reduce their imports from Russia. Because now he's doing two things. He exports LNG to Europe. Europe needs that LNG, which is liquefied natural gas. And now he's telling Europeans, look, I'm getting a higher price in Asia. I'm going to send it to Asia. So the Europeans are not going to be able to get the Russian gas, and they have no other choice because there is no other gas. So he is taking this moment to avenge. And then looking at India, we've seen Ural's crude going to India, nearing the ports of certain refineries, and then changing track and going to China and other places. So even India, even when Trump basically said you have a waiver, even India is not able to get those tankers, and they are going somewhere else because they are paying, someone else is paying a higher price.
Okay, Dr. Anas, thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now and helping us understand the strikes on oil depots, not just in Iran, but across the Middle East. Thank you very much. We all will have to bear the repercussions. Thank you very much, Dr. Anas, for joining us. Meanwhile,